this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, I got an email the other day from a guy named Jim, who's a site member at Active Melody, and he had a great suggestion, and that was to do a lesson on a Robben Ford style rhythm. And Robben Ford has if you're not familiar with Robben Ford, he has a really cool way of approaching rhythm. He uses a lot of jazz chords, and he's a great solo guitar player too. But I thought that would be something a little different, and so anyway, great suggestion, Jim, and that's really what this lesson is. I've split it into two parts. So in this video, we're going to look at the first half of the solo. If you want to see the second half, you'll have to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP031. Also available there will be the tablature for this and the jam track that I used. And I've actually got two versions of the jam track. I've got the tempo that I played in the intro, but I've also got a slower version for those of you that are, just because these chord changes are going to be tough for some of you if you're just getting started with it. So anyway, there's two tempo versions of the jam track. So let's get started with the lesson. Alright, so I should mention before I get started that I am getting over a cold, so if my voice starts to break up a little bit, that's why. And I should also mention that I'm using a pick on this, and I know a lot of lessons I play finger style, but anytime you're doing chords like this, it's kind of best to do that with a pick. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. The first thing that happens, though, is this little turnaround part that goes like that. It's a fun thing to do. And let me explain what's going on, and then I'll break it down. So here's what's kind of interesting. The second string is going like this. It's going up. It's going. Meanwhile, the fourth string is going down. It's going like this. And both of those things are happening at the same time. And then there's also another string that's just playing on each one of those. So you really got those three strings that are each playing a part to create that effect. But here's how you gotta think of fretting it. So I start by barring the first three strings on the second fret with my pointer finger. And I take my ring finger and I come up here, and you may want to do this with your pinky. It just depends on what's more comfortable. It's more comfortable for me with my ring finger because I'm going to slide this down. Remember, this is a string that walks down, and that's just easier. That motion is for me. So anyway, bar the first three strings, the second fret. The ring finger comes to the fifth fret, fourth string, like that. And that's the first thing that you play. Now you're only playing strings 4, 3, and 2. So you're just playing those three strings. You're not. Remember, you're not hitting this one string or the high E string. So you're playing those three first. Now you're going to slide your ring finger down one fret, so it's on the fourth fret, fourth string. While that happens, you're going to take your middle finger, which isn't doing anything anyway, and put it down on the second string, third fret, and play again those same three strings to get this sound. And really, that's just a D chord. It's a different way to play a D chord. Different than maybe some of you are familiar with D in first position. It's a little different from that. And then we're going to play this. And it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. Again, I'm keeping, by the way, I should have mentioned this. I'm keeping my this bar down the whole time. This never changes for this whole turnaround part. So that stays down. This time I've got my middle finger down on the on the third fret, fourth string, and I put my pinky down on the fourth fret, second string, like that. So hopefully you can see that. Kind of looks like that. And again, just playing those middle, or not those middle, but the strings 4, 3, and 2. And that's the sound you get. Now we got one more. This time I'm going to take my middle finger off the fretboard, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab the first 4 strings now with my pointer finger. So now it's going to cover the second fret, fourth string. And then I'm going to take my pinky and I'm going to come down to the 5th fret on the second string. So that's a little bit of a stretch, but if my fingers can do it, anybody's can. And then once you got that, you play again strings 4, 3, and 2 to get that sound. It's really an A chord. And so all together it sounds like this. And I think the way I did it in the beginning is I went kind of that rhythm style. You're gonna have to look at the tab and then also maybe even watch the intro again to get some of the timing down. Now after that, then I come in and play this E7th chord, and the way that I did it was like this. And what I'm doing for that is I'm as a reference, for those of you that know how to make a D7th down in first position, it's that same shape, but we're going to come up here so that our middle finger is on the 7th fret. But anyway, middle finger goes down 7th fret, 5th string. Pointer finger goes down on the 6th fret, 4th string. And ring finger goes down on 7th fret, 3rd string. So we got those three. And then I take my pinky and I just go ahead and put the pinky down on the 7th fret, 2nd string like that. And play those middle 4 strings. So you're playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2 like this. And when I did it, I gave it a little bit of a vibrato. You don't have to do that. That part's, well, I guess it's all optional, but some people have a hard time doing that with a chord. So if you're a beginner, don't bother with that. So altogether now what we have sounds like this. And before I played the E7th chord, I hit just that 5th string, which is part of the chord, and then I strummed it like that. That time I actually accidentally hit the 6th string, but actually that works because that's an E as well. That was a mistake. The next chord that we come to is a chord that it's an A13th chord, and we play it up here. And I actually slide into that chord, so I slide everything starts down a fret and slides in. That's what gives it that A13th chord really kind of gives it. That's where you're kind of getting more into a jazz feel, but it works so well with this, and it's just really pretty much a 12-bar blues. But when you throw in some of these jazz chords, you get a whole different feel. And for those of you that aren't familiar with an A13th chord, or don't play them that often, hopefully after this lesson you'll see how you can work them in. You can actually substitute that A13 anytime there's an A part. If you're playing blues, instead of just going, you could actually play that chord. Now I'm going to show you two ways you can play it, but in this lesson, or in the intro that I played it like this. And so let me show you how to make it. So I'm coming up here with my middle finger on the 10th fret, 2nd string, and then I take my pinky and I come to the this will make more sense when you get all your fingers on here, but I take my pinky and I come to the 11th fret, 3rd string, and then I take my ring finger and I come to the 11th fret, 4th string. So we've got that little shape. Think of that kind of like, it's kind of like an A minor. If you think of an A minor, that's the way I think of that. That's the same shape, but you're way up here with it. And then I take my pointer finger and I come over to the 10th fret, 5th string like that. And when I play, I'm only playing those middle 4 strings. So I'm playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2, but it has this sound. Sounds great, doesn't it? Now, and the way that I did it was I didn't start on that chord. I actually took that same shape and slid everything down a fret and slid into it like this to give it that, I don't know, kind of a jazzy feel. You could do it that way. You could also do it, some people do it like this. They go down 2 frets and they slide up like that. Either way you want to do it works great. But that's an A13th chord. So, like I said, if you're ever playing blues and you want to play something a little different instead of the old A7th, which is a pretty common way to chord that you might play if you're doing 12 bars, throw in a 13th chord to give a whole different feel to it. Just as a real quick side note, another way you can do an A13 is to do a bar chord. It's just to take the regular A bar chord and then take your pinky. All you're doing is keeping everything the same, except you take your pinky and you shift it from the 4th string to the 2nd string on the 7th fret. And that's another way you could do it. Now, that's not the way I did it in the intro, but you could. So now you have 2 ways you can do it. So have some fun. Just think about that and think how you might use it. Okay, so back to let's back up and go over everything we've done so far. So we have that much. Now after that, then I have this little, and that's a real common. Is it a chord? Is it a solo? It's a little bit of both, but I think because there's a double string thing going on, it has more of a chord feel. But here's what I'm doing. I'm barring the first 3 strings of the 5th fret, and I'm only playing strings 3 and 2. And then as soon as I play those, I hammer on with my middle finger onto the 6th fret 3rd string like this. And what that does, that's just creating, that's really an A chord. You're just completing the chord when you hammer on that finger. So that's the first thing I do. Then I come up here and I bar the first 3 strings on the 7th fret, but I'm only playing strings 3 and 2. But if you happen to accidentally play strings 3, 2, and 1, that works too. And you know, to be honest, I might even throw in that every now and then. Just it gives it a different feel. But you can get away with hitting that 1 string on these. But anyway, that's what you're doing. And then I come back to it, back to the little hammer-on part. And then I take my ring finger and come to the 4th string on the 7th fret and play this note. So all together it sounds like this. Notice when I'm doing that, they're downstrokes. So it's down, 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 down. You know, a lot of what you do is alternate picking, where you go down, up, and that gives you speed. But when you're playing 2 strings at once like that, it doesn't work so well to try and do an upstroke, because you're going to play them out of sequence and it'll sound kind of weird. Out of sequence meaning when you're playing down, you're playing strings 3 and 2, 3 and 2. If you're going up, you're going to do 2 and 3, and it'll just give it a different feel. So anyway, all right. So let me back up. Here's what we have. Now, after that, then I come back up here and slide into this A13 again, just like that. Now, the timing, I haven't really talked about the timing. The timing is something, the jam track really does dictate the timing. And so when I created that jam track, I put cymbal crashes as accents, and you can, if you're listening to just the jam track, you'll be able to hear where a lot of these things, like those little pops and things. But if you aren't a member and you don't have access to the jam track, that's okay. You can still learn this stuff. Set a metronome and try, and let me play through everything that we've done so far with no accompaniment, just so you can hear the timing of it. So here's what it sounds like. Hopefully you can hear my foot here. Hear how that part went? And notice what I did too is when I played the chord, to stop it, I put my hands down over the strings to mute it. So I went to give it just a real quick pop, as opposed to going. A lot of when you're playing this style, when you're trying to really control how much the chord rings out. And that's one way to do it, is to stop the sound with your right hand. You can also stop it with your left hand to some extent too. Well, to a great extent, by just pushing down and then releasing, but keeping your fingers on the strings like this. So they're muting the strings. So you can do. Notice my right hand didn't change with that, only the left hand. So it's a combination of doing these left hand mutes and right hand mutes that really give you control. So okay, so we have there's that stop again. Okay, so then after this part, then I come back and I repeat this little part, and I actually play through it twice. Now the second time, you'll notice I go, so that time I went down, up, down, down. So I went, just to give it a little different feel. So the timing of that, it goes. Okay, now after that, then I come to the D7th chord, which I slide into like this. Now you'll remember that shape that we made when we did the E7th up here. That was the one where I took the shape of the D, the D7th from first position, moved it all the way up here, and then added my pinky. We're going to use that same shape, but we're going to slide everything down 1, 2 frets. That is a D7th. So up here is a E7th. This is a D7th. Now just remember that when you're playing blues, and you want some different ways to play chords instead of just having to do a D down like that, or something down in first position. Now you know a different way that you can play D7th. And the nice thing, and the reason why a lot of people play chords up higher in the neck like this as opposed to down here in the first position, this is great if you're playing acoustic guitar and you just want sing-along type stuff by campfire or whatever. It works well for that because a lot of drones and strings that ring out and stuff. But when you're playing electric rhythm, you want to have more control, and that's why when I'm talking about muting the strings with your right hand or with your left hand, you can do that if you don't have open strings. And so that's why a D7th here is a lot more appealing than down here, because down here you've got that that fourth string which you can't really control. So, but here, I have this kind of control. That's a lot harder to do down here because you're going to be bumping into things. And anyway, just wanted to point that out. So we have, I'm sorry, I actually slid down to it that way. So that's where we're getting to. That's the D7th, and then I started everything up a fret, and then I went down like that. So, and again, I gave it a little bit of a vibrato. And after that, then I did this little run that goes. Now that sounds hard, but it's like super easy, because all I'm doing is I'm borrowing the first 3 strings, and I'm starting here on the 7th fret, and I'm just sliding up 1 fret to the 8th fret. So, and I'm going to do 2. I'm going to go. So that's a down, up, down, down. So starting on the 7th fret, and you notice that you can hear that slide like that. So you want to work on that. So I'm not going. I'm going like this. And it's real, it has a real fluid sound when you do it that way. Then I come down and play the 5th fret, first 3 strings. Okay, so that's a lot of content maybe, since this is kind of new. So let me back up and I'll start at the beginning again. And I apologize if this is too repetitive for some of you, but I like to just kind of repeat these things because I think it really does help. So you have to bear with me. So here we go. We're going back from the beginning. Okay, that's the part I left out. So when I went, and it came down here, then I take my pinky and I come up here and push down on the 7th fret. Play again. I'm only playing strings 3, 2, and 1, and then release it back to that. So that's just giving that. So I went. Now you could do that with your ring finger as well, whatever's easier for you. So after I play the D7th part, it sounds like this. So did you hear it again? Came back and got it again. Okay, and then I do this thing where I'm going to play 3 chords. I'm going to start with a C sharp minor 7th. And that sounds crazy, but it's really pretty easy to play. And this part sounds like this. It's a little walk down that goes. Now that's got a real jazzy feel to it. And the way that you play that, if I peel away these two fingers, my middle and my pointer finger, you'll notice that my ring finger is actually barring the first 4 strings, and so I'm up here. I'm starting that little walk down, that C sharp minor 7th. It's actually C sharp minor 7th add 3. I'm going to get really technical, but I'm starting up here on the 9th fret, barring the first 4 strings. Then I take my middle finger and I come all the way up. And I push that down on the 9th fret, 6th string. Then take my pointer finger and come to the 8th fret, 5th string, like that. So you can think of it 2 ways. You can think of it as a bar with just these 2 little guys put in place, or you can think of it like kind of like that D7 shape again. But you're letting your ring finger come across and just bar everything. So whatever's easiest in your mind to visualize how to make that chord. But that's really all there is to it. So it's a pretty easy chord to make. And if it wasn't for this guy, you could just bar the whole thing. But unfortunately, that 5th string is 1 behind, so you have to use 2 fingers for that. But here's how I did it. And in fact, it's that same shape that walks down, and it goes from a C sharp minor 7th down to a C minor 7th down to a B minor 7th. So what I do is I go, and what I'm doing is I'm hitting that 6th string to define it, and then I'm playing strings 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. 6th string. Oh, by the way, I just slid everything down 1 fret, and then slide everything down again. So each time I'm starting by hitting the 6th string, and then I'm doing the strum. The timing of that is kind of like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And then when I get to that, then I take my pinky and I come up here and I grab the 9th fret, 1st string. Like that, and that's a little bit of a stretch. I got a bent pinky and it still works. Just like that. So all together that part sounds like this. Okay? Alright, so let's back up and I'll play everything from the D7th part. So we have okay? Now, after that, then I come up here and I play this. And some of you are going, whoa, man, what is that chord? It's actually just an E7th, but I'm playing it up here. And the way that I'm doing it, here's that D7th shape again, believe it or not. It keeps showing up, little triangle. But I'm pushing down on the 12th fret, 6th string, with my middle finger. Then I take my pointer finger and I'm on the 11th fret, 5th string. And then I take my ring finger and I'm on the 12th fret, 4th string. So there's that D7th shape. And then I take my pinky and I come up here to the 13th fret, 3rd string, like that. And I'm just playing strings 6, 5, 4, and 3. Okay, so, and the timing of that goes, I hit the 6th string and then I go down, down, up. So I go like that. And here's how it sounds in context. So it goes. Okay. So now we get to probably the most unique part of the whole thing, and maybe it's not really not that challenging. It's just it's different, And so here's this little turnaround part that goes. Four chords. And the way, and first of all, those chords it starts with a G9 chord. And you're going to see that D7th shape. I keep referring to it as the D7th shape. Again, the reference is D7th in first position, but you're going to see that shape in every one of these four chords that we're going to do. So that's good. So you've got half of the battle already won. And so it starts with this G9 chord, which is, we're only going to play strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And I'm going to do middle finger on the 10th fret, 5th string, pointer finger on the 9th fret, 10th fret, 5th string. Is that what I said? I'm sorry. Middle finger on the 10th fret, 5th string, pointer finger on the 9th fret, 4th string, and ring finger on the 10th fret, 3rd string. And then I take my, and really that's it. And what I do is when I put my ring finger down on that 3rd string, I actually just go ahead and bar it, kind of like that. I let it fall across the first 3 strings. And really all I'm playing though is strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. So that's the first chord, that's the G9 chord. Now, we're going to take, this part's easy, so we're going to take that same shape, and we're going to slide everything down 1 fret, and the only difference is, I'm going to take my pinky, and I'm going to bar the first 2 strings on the 10th fret. So that when I play, now I'm not just playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2, now I'm going to play strings 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and here's how it sounds. So now you get this sound. Now that's an F sharp minor 7. Add 3. But it's an F sharp minor 7. But I try not to get too caught up in all the technical stuff. I know a lot of lessons, people talk about modes and craziness, and I don't know. I don't really follow it, a lot of it, to be quite honest. But I do know that if you take these chords and you understand what the jam track is doing, and then how you can put in these 4 chords over that part of the turnaround, it would work, and you could transpose this into really any key. So you're not limited to just playing with a jam track. You can do it with anything. Anyway, just think about that. Think about, okay, if we're in the key of A and these chords work, so how would that work if we were in the key of G? And try and, so the root fret is here at 5, so you slide everything down 2 frets. So instead of starting here on the G9, you'd start here. And so anyway, that's just how you have to kind of think of this stuff. And then you can apply these things to your own stuff. So first thing again was that G9. Then we come to this F sharp minor 7th that goes like that. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and play, which we've already done this chord. This was that, remember when we did the walk down? That's the same chord. So that's that B minor 7. So backing up, we have that B minor 7th. And then the last chord is this one, which this is the exact same shape as that F sharp minor 7th that I just showed you, but this time it's an E minor 7th. And so what I'm doing for this is I'm taking the D 7th shape again. In fact, it's the same chord that we just learned here. We're just sliding everything down 2 frets. Probably the easiest way to say it. So you can look at my fingers and see it's that second chord that we learned. So let me put it in reference if you're confused. First chord we learned was the G9. Then we learned this one, which was the F sharp minor 7th, which is this. This is the one we just slide down to for that final chord. There's the B minor 7th, and here's the E minor 7th. See what I'm doing there? Just see the little D7th shape? you can see now that you've taken that little D minor triangle shape and you've just put it in a few spots on the fretboard. And when you think of it that way, those chords, even though they're different and they're not what you would normally play maybe, you can see at least how to do them. Try and do them first, even though it's bizarre to you and maybe doesn't even make sense. Just try and learn them, and you know, and really practice playing them along with this jam track. And then I think it will start to click with you that how you could maybe apply these to some other things. And that might be another lesson if there's an interest. I could maybe make another jam track in a different key, maybe even a different tempo, different style, and show how you might take these same 4 chords and work those into some other kind of blues. So, alright, so let's back up from the start really and go over everything. Well, before I do that, let me just play from the D7th part up to what we just learned. So. There's those 4 chords. Alright, so really that's all there is to this first part of the song. Now let me go ahead and I'll back up and play everything slowly so that you have a reference of it slowly, and then I'll do it up to tempo. So here it is slowly. And here it is up to tempo. Okay, so if you haven't checked out Active Melody, please do so. I think you'll like, I have a lot of, if you like this lesson, I've got a lot more lessons like this. And that's where you can also get the second part of this. So the second part will be available for premium members at activemelody.com.